Hey guys, it is Rapmark here. So, doing episode 4 of The Last of Us, yes, I was able to catch up for the most part, at least up to episode 6. So, we're going to go ahead and start with that. And so, this episode was unfortunately a step down from the episodes that we've had before. I mean, I believe I've had, 9 episode 1, 8 episode 2. I think I went up to 10 on episode 3. Um, and then this one. So this one reigns in at clearly the shortest one at 45 minutes. It's essentially the first part of what is essentially a two-part story. Uh, and because of it, and because of that, um, it's a lot of build up. You don't really get a ton of payoff here, and that's kind of what this episode is about. It's essentially the build up to Harry and Sam and Harry, or yeah. Now it sort of takes a change in location. So in the game, it was in Pittsburgh, I believe. Whereas in this one, they're doing it in Kansas City. Just They say that the additional distance helped more at the establishing the characters, and as well as it just looked more similar to where they were filming in Calgary. So, but I mean that doesn't matter to me. Once again, it's the characters. In the game, it's just a bunch of raiders. They want to take their stuff. No real leader. In this one, it's there is a leader, and there's a whole backstory to him. And I think the biggest takeaway from this, and I think the biggest problem, is it's trying so much to humanize everyone with backstories and everything. Like you have Perry and Kathleen. Um, and the problem is with Kathleen is like I don't think it was a problem with her performance per se, but just the sort of unquestioning gravitas that she seems to have. It doesn't feel earned. It feels kind of hacked on for the sake of plot. And I wasn't buying it. I mean, I can understand her reasoning and everything, but it just, I don't know. I think it was adding on too much in something that, and putting too much time into something that really didn't need to have that much time invested into it. Like, again, with episode 3, I love the fact that they changed it up. The whole Fred and or not, yeah, Frank and Bill. I'm sorry. Um, I did enjoy that, and I did enjoy the moments that Ellie and Joel had. This was a really big bonding episode for them, and I love that. Especially when he sort of teaches her um, there's scenes in here which have enormous weight when it comes to like developing their bond. You know, she kind of has like a joke book. You have some clever humor in there, and it really works. Like it feels natural. It doesn't feel rushed. But here's the thing, and that I was kind of worried about with this series, because you know all of season one is essentially has been told it is going to be the first game plus the DLC, and I'm just like, eesh. I mean, this is going to be a 9 episode season, and you know, as much as I loved episode 3, like that is a lot of time to build up two characters that are literally a sideshow in the game, and you know, Joel and Ellie really don't have really much interaction with, and I don't think I think that this episode is a 45-minute episode. Like, ugh. I mean, that's a lot of time spent just for a setup to what is essentially a huge part of the game. And it kind of leads me to worry that as we continue and we move on, that certain things are going to be rushed. I mean, this is episode 4. We're almost halfway done, and there's still a lot to tell this story, you know, of the main story, let alone the DLC, which is what he's also saying it's going to be about. So I am a bit. This episode does leave me a little bit worried as to where they're going to go, how they're going to handle certain things. But I mean, so far they're still doing really, really well. I mean, this episode, well, I'll say it definitely was the weakest episode so far. I mean, we're still running at really high level. Again, like I said, 9s, 8s, and a 9, 8, and a 10, and you know this series has been great. Uh, what would I give this episode? Honestly, a 7, because once again, it's the first part of a 2-part story, and it's mostly build up. The payoff isn't that great. I mean, again, I loved the scenes with Joel and Ellie, but so much of it was taken away with like these bandits, these hunters, whatever, and Henry and Sam, which are you don't really meet until the end, but again, it took like Kathleen. It just spent so much time trying to humanize her, and it's just like, I get it, but I get the reasons. I do think she performed with what she was given, you know, very well. I just wasn't buying it. I don't know if it was just the look of the character, if it was just the nature of the situation or whatnot, or, you know, as someone who's played the game. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So, unfortunately, this is one I think is only worth a 7, to be completely honest. And I think it was too short. I think it was way too short. I hope that they don't have really any more episodes that are under an hour. Because the one, like, every other one besides this has been an hour or longer. And I've never felt like it was long. I felt that it told the story it needed to tell, and it did it well. This did not feel fully satisfying, but I still think it was very well done. I think there was a little too much backstory when it came to the raiders in this city. But I mean, I get it, and that's kind of personal opinion. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Still going at a very high level, but clearly so far the weakest episode of this series, in my opinion. So, uh, then just to sort of set the whole thing, I mean, so we start off again with Joel and Ellie. They're on their drive, and I love the fact that they did include the magazine reference from the game, like so well. It was it was hilarious. And that's what I love is they do have respect for the actual game, the actual original source material, while at the same time changing certain things as long as it's done better, which I do think they've done. I think this one was a little weak, and again for more stuff in the Raiders category, but that was a really loud noise I just heard. Anyway, um, but yeah, so he tells her about Tommy, um, and everything, and just they're sort of meshing together. He's starting to see her as more than just cargo. He wants to. It's just like trying to protect her and actually get along, treating her as a person. So they do have to stop. Apparently, they go into like the woods or fields or whatever. They don't do any fires because people will find that, and there's some people who are really terrible who will do more than just rob them, which is kind of crazy. Um, but yeah, that makes sense. So as they hit Kansas City, the main highway is blocked, so they have to go a detour into the city, and they see a guy, and it's like, "Are you gonna help him?" He's like, "No." They speed out. Uh, a brick breaks through the window, and then they have a spike strip which punctures the tires, and the truck is wrecked. The truck is absolutely wrecked, and then that starts a gunfight. Joel with his bolt action rifle. He sends Ellie through a hole in the wall, and he's able to take out two of the three people attacking them. Um, but then a third gets a drop on him. He doesn't hear so well with one ear because of all the times he's shot. Gets a drop on him, essentially starts strangling him, and almost strangles him to death. Ellie comes out, and the gun. This is another thing that's in the game, blasts him. I can't fully remember how that played out in the game, but yeah, he is paralyzed, and he's just like, he goes from like, "I'm gonna kill you, I hate you," to just like, "No, it's over. I can't feel my legs. I just want to go home to my mommy. We can be friends." And yeah, Joel sends Ellie back into the hole in the wall and stabs him while he is literally crying out for his mommy. And yeah, so they have to bounce out of there, and that's where you meet the group of hunters, whatever, I forget what they're called, and where you meet Kathleen. So they find the bodies, and she is talking about how Henry probably did this. Uh, she's all about getting Henry, and you find out that, yeah, he essentially sold out her brother, who was the leader of these things, of these of this group of bandits, whatever. Um, and so yeah, that's why she's after him. I mean, her whole introduction was just, you know, she's talking to this old man who turns out to be a doctor, and he's just like, "I gave birth to you," and she leaves. They find the body. One of them's still alive. Um, would a doctor help? And they're just like, no. So she goes back in and blasts the doctor in the head. And it's just like, man, just totally consumed by vengeance. Um, but yeah, this group, they essentially took over from Fedra. This branch of Fedra was like a bunch of animals. They were doing horrible things, and so yeah, they killed them all and took over. And that was only a few days ago. So so that happens. And then you get another nice scene where Joel is showing Ellie how to hold a gun because, she's holding it just with one hand. He's just like, no, you got to brace it. And, two hands. Looked at, make sure you can see down sights. And yeah, like I said, the strongest part of this episode were the parts where we saw Joel and Ellie interacting together. It was good. It was fun. But yeah, I remember there was a joke book she picked up, and it was brought up the first night they were camping. Just like, did you know that diarrhea is hereditary? Yeah, it runs in your genes. Like, this, there were a lot of puns. There were a lot of like dad jokes. It was pretty amazing. There's one of just like, why did the scarecrow get an award? And Jill like knew that one, um, because he was outstanding in his field. Just the humor on this between those two, and just the slow, gradual evolution of their relationship, was it felt really nice, really natural, and I loved it. I mean, after the guy is dead, he stabs him. Uh, she comes out, and he hands her the gun. It's just like, you know what? You've earned this. And then he feels bad, like he's trying to console her, like she shouldn't have to deal with this. It was him that killed the guy, not her. And she informs him that this isn't the first time she's done it, uh, but she doesn't want to talk about it. You know. So we go back to Kathleen and Perry, her second in command. There's a vacated room where Henry had been living with his brother. They're fine, but at the bottom of this thing, the floor is starting to come down. Uh, it's buckling, and underground something is moving. Perry wants to deal with the problem, but Kathleen, she wants to wait uh, until Henry is found. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is not going to go well. So anyway, or not Henry, but Joel and Ellie, they go to a high rise where they can sort of scout out how to get out of the city the next day. And they go lie down and sleep. And man, I forget what the joke was, unfortunately. It could have been the diarrhea one. But anyway, after that, he jokes, and then they fall asleep. And then he's woken up to Ellie being like, Joel, Joel. And, he wakes up and there's Henry and his younger brother Sam holding them at gunpoint. And that's where we leave off. So, again, this whole thing is the setup for the whole Sam and Henry storyline of the game. And again, the problem is this shouldn't have been a two-parter kind of thing. I'll get into, obviously, the next episode is part 2, but I think they spent too much time, humanizing and building a background for the raiders, bandits, whatever you want to call them. I forget what they called themselves, to be honest. With Kathleen and Perry. But, there were, again, the strongest parts were of Joel and Ellie, but there weren't a lot of those parts, unfortunately, which is unfortunate. Because, once again, I just feel that with 9 episodes, this is episode 4, and they're kind of putting all this effort into what they're so far putting effort into when it comes to changing things and what they're investing time into. I just feel like certain things are going to be rushed, and it's going to really impact my enjoyment of this season, which is unfortunate because I am loving this season. I am loving this show. I don't want it to be, reduced. I don't want it to be weaker than what it's been. I don't want it to finish on a low note because we backed ourselves into a corner and now we need to rush through the very ending of it. So, I don't know. It's one of those really tough decisions where they need to sort of focus on the main aspects, have no more two-parter episodes, have no more under 1 hour episodes, that's for sure. And keep going. So like I said, this is probably the weakest episode of the series so far, but it's still, a 7. It's still running really high. This series is easily holding up. This has been one of my favorite series for a long time, and I'm excited to talk about what comes next. So, I mean, the build-up was good, so if the payoff in the next episode works out and it ends the way I think it's going to end, well, okay. I mean, I've seen these episodes, and it ends the way that it ended in the game, then we're still gonna go on all fours essentially. We're going full speed ahead, and like I said, I am loving this series so far, and I'm excited to just see where it goes. I'm along for the ride, and I am enjoying the ride. So like I said, 7 out of 10 for this one. Still very enjoyable. Love the Ellie and Joel scenes. Not so much the bandits, all the humanizing. And again, I think that while her performance was definitely, for what she was given, very, very, very good, I just don't know what to think of the Kathleen character so far. It's a bit much, but we'll see. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for me on this. So I'll be back with episode 5 in a bit. We'll see when I post that. Definitely sometime this week. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.